early, but that's okay. Today's reading is from Reverend Dr. David Alt, and it's actually taken from the June 2021 Science of Mind magazine daily guides. So some of you don't know who he is. Well, here's a little bit about him. He's an ordained minister through Centers for Spiritual Living, just like myself and my colleagues at Creative Life here. He served communities in Los Angeles, Mobile, Alabama, and Atlanta. He's the founder and executive director of Kaleidoscope Child Foundation. And this is a nonprofit that provides sustaining education to rural villages and slums in Guatemala, India, and Cambodia, and serves more than 1,000 children and their communities annually. And he travels the globe as a speaker, facilitator, and global education advocate. And he's learn more about him at davidault.com or kaleidoscopechildfoundation.org. And to give you a bit of context, the theme for the daily guides from which this is taken is the soul's call, and it says offerings on the ritual of birth, death, and the wild rides in between. And it says, perhaps we're spiraling on a seemingly endless journey of divine commissions filled with struggles and victories, and each individualization of life is designed to return every soul to the full remembrance that all is love, for all is God, the divine, the essence of all being. He says, may you find a comfort in these readings, uniquely perfect to your heart. And that was the introduction then. Here's what he says now. He first of all quotes from, it's attributed to Lao Tzu, who was the famous Chinese philosopher from, I don't know, 3,500 years ago, roughly. And you've heard this quote a lot, and that's why I guess he says it's attributed to Lao Tzu. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. And I know you've heard that or similar things before. Ernest Holmes says, the very judgment by which we judge others becomes a self-judgment. The very judgment by which we judge others becomes a self-judgment. And that was in Help for Today. And I'm sure you're all familiar with, oh dear, what happened there? I lost the screen for a minute. You're all familiar with the pointing finger. When you point one finger at somebody, guess what happens? 3 fingers point back at you. It's kind of a similar thing. And that was in something called Help for Today on page 54. I'm not familiar with that publication. And okay, let me just, I need to pull something else up here actually. Oh, here we go. This is what Reverend David Alt says. We live in times of brutal division. Social media created a whole new terrain that we must navigate. We will scroll across heaven and earth. Over time, we've normalized the choice to cross to the other side of the road, away from the injured or differing belief with the righteous zeal. Here he's talking metaphorically. Then he says, as bodhisattvas, we can give perceptions of the other to prayer, not a punitive or passive-aggressive prayer, but a Samaritan-themed prayer, a prayer spoken from Christ consciousness. May peace fill you. May love live in your hearts. May you be well. May peace fill me. May love live in my heart. May love be restored within all. And if you want to know what a bodhisattva is, there couple of definitions. One is someone who is able to reach enlightenment, but chooses to remain in the earth plane to help others reach enlightenment. And the other one is that somebody who has reached enlightenment and still decides to stay on and help others. Or another definition is someone who is well on the way to being enlightened. Continuing on with Reverend David Alt. Healthy helping expands beautifully through conscious participation with the principle of rhythm. There is an understanding of creation as fluid. Ebbs happen and flows are assured. Someone in an ebb state is not inferior to someone in a flow state. Unhealthy helping could perpetuate suffering when the helper becomes attached to their role. Then he quotes spiritual leader Ram Dass, who was very well known and passed away a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, openly shared how in the early years of his psychotherapy practice, he would observe himself growing resentful when patients got better. It felt like a threat to his role as a helper. He was becoming so attached to that form that he feared the uncertainty of what could happen to him if that form began dissolving. Attachment to the role of helper needs others to be compliant in their role of needing help. Doing so creates toxic codependency. A bodhisattva models healthy helping through empowerment. Beyond the familiar proverb that encourages us to teach another how to fish, this helper offers sacred reminders that the one in need knows just as well as they do. Healthy helping. And as I said, that was published in June 2021. So what do we make of this? And how do I get back to my, oh, here we are. I was trying to think of how this applies to all of us. You know, I have got several different modalities or ways that I live in the world that are parts of actually helping others. One is emotional freedom technique, and I help people get over mental, physical issues, sometimes trauma even. And it could be tempting to have them keep coming back, especially if you charge for your services. You know, it keeps the money flowing in. But the bottom line is to really teach people how to do it themselves. And that's one of the good things about emotional freedom technique, that you can actually teach people how to do it for themselves. So you don't create that codependency. Mediation's another one, but I really don't want to keep mediating with the same people. I want to solve it. But I can see how oftentimes in life we jump in and we offer advice when all people want is a listening ear. And to me, this is probably the most normal thing out of all this lot. You know, not many of us are practitioners of some form of physical or mental healing or mental well-being that we would actually be in a position to want to keep our clients returning. But we're all in that position where somebody is obviously in distress, and often what they want is that listening ear. So to me, that's the main message here. It may not be the main message to you, and that's okay, because every single one of us can get something different out of this reading. So as I said, that is my main reading into this, that I have to practice not trying to jump in and offer advice, offer help where it's not wanted, that all that's wanted is a listening ear. So does that make sense? Well, obviously it does to me, because I'm the one who is saying it. It's been Sunday, it's been a long day, and what I'm actually saying here, it's sometimes hard to get into the mind of the author. And if the author's still around, we can actually ask them. But when the author is gone or long gone, you can't do that anymore. So it always strikes me as amusing. This may not be directly related to this, but I want to say it anyway. It's always amusing to me how the experts come in and say, well, this is what Mozart intended when he wrote this piece, or this is what Shakespeare wanted us to understand when he said this, or he did that, or he wrote this play, or he said these words, he wrote these words. So It's always struck me as amusing because unless the creator of that actually wrote it down, then we really don't know. Or if some biographer of the time wrote it down. So if it's not in an autobiography or a biography, we're just guessing. But the bottom line to me, as I said, is, when you see someone in distress, yes, definitely help them. And if they need physical help or they need directing to somebody who can help them mentally, yeah, do that. But at least first, sit down and listen to them, because you'll find out a lot of time what they want is, as I just said, that listening ear. Today, I help another remember their magnificence. And what that also tells me is this. That was the affirmation. Yeah, today I help another remember their magnificence. But it also tells me that if we are in a good position, a good place mentally, physically, and somebody isn't, that we don't look down on them, that they're just in a different place and they may need help, our help or somebody else's help in getting out of that place and getting back in the norm again. But as he said earlier, we all go through these cycles, some big and some small, of being in a great place and then being in not quite a good place. But it's normal. We all go through that. And as we keep doing our spiritual work, the highs get higher and the lows get higher. So there's always an upward progress. So that's all I got to say. Tomorrow morning, Reverend Royce will be back, 9 o'clock-ish, 9 a.m.-ish, that is, Central Time, Central Daylight Savings Time. I'll be back tomorrow, somewhere around about 5. It should work fine because my mediation is all morning tomorrow. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Remember to, if you didn't see our service, go and watch the recording on YouTube or Facebook. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Namaste.